Right, that's 16th century Rome, which may seem like a long time ago, but if you want the galaxy far, far away, I think we go for this next one, don't we? Ice and Longboats, Ancient Music of Scandinavia. How ancient?
Well, Vikings are in fashion, right? So, this is right bang on trend. Ancient in idea and imagination and a jumping off point. But this is a product of the imagination of the performers. So let's start by hearing a little bit, shall we? This is going to be Evening in the Village.
Evening entertainment in a Viking village, or at least that's what we're supposed to believe. Ancient Icelandic music brought back to life on two kinds of lyre, played by Åke Egervat and Jens Egervat from the ensemble Mare Balticum. We need really good notes to prepare us for everything going on here. I mean, music from this period, it's speculative beyond a point at which many people are comfortable. So how have they actually come to the conclusions they have?
Well, they write some good notes. They are honest notes, and they don't pretend that there is anything other than imagination for quite a lot of this. When it comes to these lyres, there were 3 bridges that were found, and they tell us very specifics. One was made from an antler from an elk, and they were found in Viking trade villages. They're able to paint a picture from the picture stones and the runes and then some later manuscripts of the contexts, and they're able to build a narrative, and you can do some sort of sketchy pictures of some possible instruments, but that really is as far as it goes. After that, it's the imagination of how these could have been used.
So there just isn't music. The manuscripts that they dealt with are for the medieval side of the programme and not the earlier side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's tricky, isn't it? The sources, well, it's partly, we should say that it's from EMAP, the European Music Archaeology Project, and the Delphian labels begun a collaboration with them over the course of a number of projected CDs. How do you stop it feeling like it's just museum pieces?
Well, I think that really does come in the sound, because for me, there are some pictures in the notes, and actually it would be great if there were a few more, but there are some pictures there, and it's like one of those occasions where you go to a museum and you see these things and you think, I wonder what it sounds like. And this is your opportunity to hear a possibility of what it sounds like. And for me, that kind of sense of archaeology coming to life is quite transporting. I say this in the best sense. In my youth, it was all about the Jorvik Viking Centre, and that kind of just literally being transported to a different world. Well, orally, this is that, and it may not be specifically correct, but it's a different soundscape.
And some of the instruments are from museums. I mean, there are surviving horns as well as the bridges of stringed instruments like those lyres. And we can hear one, can't we? This is an animal horn.
It is. It's a goat horn that we're going to hear next.
Ancient Viking music? Well, it might be. We don't know, but certainly a goat horn played by Åke Egervat. There are 3 or 4 horns found, the notes tell us, with threefold function, they guess at: frightening away bears and wolves, communicating with people and animals over long distances, and of course whiling away the hours playing for fun.
Quite. The thing that got me about this is that I think in the spirit of early music and the spirit of discovering, even when we were discovering, I say we, when Baroque instruments were being experimented with, and just to see what sounds they made, and you've got to let the instruments lead the way. There is, I really feel resonances with this, and that you have to have a bit of faith that we are people like they were with imaginations, and let's see what this instrument will do.
So if it can do
and
it
if it can
for
do
us
it,
now, it could have done it hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago.
Exactly. And in that sense, I think it's quite ear-opening.
So I think there are revelations somehow. I'm not quite sure how to put my finger on them, but I was listening to some of this thinking, if you think about the way they use the voices, I find myself thinking, well, it's attractive, but there's no way you can know how this would have sounded.
There's not. There's more to go on by the time we get to that section. So the singing, the vocal works are more from the Middle Ages, so, as late as 1050 to 1530 AD. And if you think about the equivalents in European music at that time, we don't really know how they would have sung either. So we're making that same leap of faith.
There's an orthodoxy which has sort of grown up around the music which we're now used to, isn't there? And yet here, contextually, it's quite different. So it feels, again, as though we have to have a new approach to this kind of music.
But there are manuscripts. There's much more to go on. Obviously, vocal sound, not at all. But there's more to go on there. And in the instruments from that slightly later period, there's more substantial evidence. So I think that is more convincing and a little less of a leap of faith.
They have made some stuff up, though, haven't they? I mean, properly made them up. There are some new compositions in a medieval style.
Yeah.
I think we're going to hear one of them, aren't we? Which is in honour of the Swedish national saint Eric.
Exactly, it is. And it's quite a brutal one. It's about how he cut his own throat with a blade, and for that, the holy man worthy of worship everywhere deserved everlasting life. So quite full on. And I suppose in terms of the vocal sound, one of my reservations is that although they developed this really beautiful, haunting, intricate soundscape, it's pretty much the same whether we're talking about cutting a throat or dreaming of silk. So I think a lot of the variation comes from the colour of the instruments that are accompanying the voices, and that's where the interest lies, it's where the rhythm lies, it's where, things really get moving.
Well, let's hear the man who cut his own throat with a blade. Ferro Transequit, an original composed by Ensemble Mare Balticum in the style of a medieval instrumental song from Scandinavia, the voice of Uta Gerdeke and the single-string tromba marina played by Per Madsen. And that's followed on the disc by the hypnotic twang and drone of a Jew's harp, which works really well, actually. And it's good to have pictures of some of the instruments, Hannah, as you said, but unfortunately not the tromba marina. The notes, I found they're not complete in a sense, because there are some pieces of music on the disc which aren't described, which aren't we're not told about them, but they're very good. They're
exactly,
really helpful.
Exactly. Some of them are a little bit of a mystery, but it does complete a picture. There's definitely a narrative that works its way through this, whether we are, worshipping the gods with a wooden trumpet, a lurs, or playing an animal horn, or in fact a bone flute. And there are some discovered bone flutes which are playing. Actually, that's quite a convincing sound, I think, and it feels authentic in the best sense of the word authentic. And also the vocal sound, I think that there are kind of resonances of the troubadours. It's got that kind of feel to it, especially when they include a Marian song. And actually that one, Myth Herthe Brenda, is worth listening out for as well. It's the largest ensemble that they use, and that was one thing that I really craved in this. I wanted more of them to play together at the same time, and there are more catchy rhythms in there and much more of a memorable melody as well. So yeah, there are gems hidden within.
Is it a project you're going to be keeping your eyes and ears on? Because it is a while since anyone's tackled this kind of ancient music with such determination and imagination over a series of releases.
And I think you've got to be quite gutsy to do this. You're really sticking your neck out. And, we can sit here and say, oh, well, this doesn't exist and all the rest of it. But actually, they've clearly done a lot of research and they've clearly put so much thought and, imagination, as we say, into this it's really striking. And this is number 2 in a series of 5. Spell Weaving, Ancient Music from the Highlands of Scotland is already out. And Dragon Voices, Celtic Horns is on its way. And also coming up, The Edge of Time, Paleolithic Bone Flutes, and then some Greek and Roman instruments complete the set. So I think if you're interested in this kind of idea, this archaeological bringing to life these old instruments, then actually it's quite a complete project.
I'm going to be listening. Ice and Longboats, Ancient Music of Scandinavia from Ensemble Mare Balticum, the second in the series of collaborations between the European Music Archaeology Project and the Delphian label.